In order to be able to solve necessary assumption questions, you've got to be able to negate. The correct answer choice, when negated, destroys the argument, leaving no ambiguity at all. And so for this reason, today we're going to solve several negation drills to help you get better at solving necessary assumption questions. The correct choice, when negated, destroys the argument. So today we're going over several examples. Number one is with a green circle, meaning it's meant to be an easier drill of sorts. And so I'm going to read it out. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat. A, B, C, or D. When you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to something. Number one, every Harvard Law student who always color codes their notes performs better than those who do not. What is the proper negation? A, some Harvard Law student who always color codes their notes does not perform better than those who don't. B, every color coding student performs better than all others. C, no student performs better without color coding their notes. Or D, only students who color code consistently outperform others. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat. A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to something. I'll give folks a minute. Let's see here. We got Mariam here saying A. Some Harvard Law student who always color codes their notes does not perform better than those who don't. We've also got Luke here saying A. Fantastic. The answer is in fact A, because if the original said every, or meaning all, the opposite of all is not all or some do not. A says there is some student who does not, so that is in fact the answer. Well done. Next, number two, passing the baby bar typically requires more than social media discipline. What is the negation? A, it is not typically the case that passing the baby bar requires more than social media discipline. B, social media discipline is unrelated to passing the baby bar. C, passing the baby bar never involves discipline of any kind. Or D, passing the baby bar depends entirely on luck. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to something. Again, the original, passing the baby bar, typically requires more than social media discipline. Negation would be saying passing the baby bar does not typically require more than social media discipline. So if the original says requires, the negation is meaning says does not require. And if they're saying typically requires, we would say does not typically require. So we've got someone saying A, someone saying B. So B is saying discipline is unrelated to passing the baby bar, meaning there's no association at all. The original was saying passing typically requires. Original says typically requires, so we want to say does not typically require. Some saying A, some saying B. Luke, Passion, Linfully all saying A. Mariam and Valentina also saying B. Yeah, Kim Kardashian with the baby bar. Yeah, unfortunately, she didn't pass the real bar exam on her first go, but she's going to give it another try. I heard she's committed to keeping at it until she ultimately gets there. Edward saying A. In fact, the answer is A. Well done. It is not typically the case because the original said you do typically need to do this. Negation would say you do not typically need to do this. So typically, does not typically require. So choice A is in fact the answer. Well done. Number three, every time Harvey accepts a case, the firm expects to win. Negation. A, the firm expects to win every case Harvey accepts. B, the firm only takes cases that enhance its image. C, Harvey sometimes accepts a case even when the firm does not expect to win. Or D, the firm's expectations are identical for all cases Harvey takes. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to something. Again, the original, every time Harvey accepts a case, the firm expects to win. meaning the firm does not always expect him to win, even if he accepted the case. So, yes, a lot of folks dropping in the chat choice C: Mariam, Anne, Linfully, Brianna, Valentina, Mariam Passion, Luke, all saying C. The answer is, in fact, C. Harvey sometimes accepts the case even when the firm does not expect to win. So, it is removing the requirement that his accepting the case guarantees they have that expectation. So, he could accept it, yet the firm doesn't expect him to win. Well done. Next, number 4. No mock trial team ever wins without at least one skilled cross-examiner. What is the negation? A, every winning team had exactly one skilled cross-examiner. B, there exists at least one mock trial team that won without any skilled cross-examiner. C, cross-examiners contribute but do not determine results. Or D, winning teams usually rely on their opening statements. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to an answer. Original says no mock trial team. Negation would be at least one mock trial team, or there exists at least one mock trial team. Folks are dropping in the chat, all saying B. We got Luke, Passion, Mariam, Anne, Edward, Valentina, all saying B. Fantastic. The answer is, in fact, B as in Bravo. Well done. So again, the opposite of no would be at least one or some, and B says at least one. Nice. Number 5. Only students who deeply understand conditional logic excel at necessary assumption questions more than at strengthen questions. What is the proper negation? A, conditional logic rarely appears on the LSAT. You wish, right? B, necessary and strengthen questions require similar reasoning. C, every student who understands conditional logic excels equally across both types. Or D, some students who do not deeply understand conditional logic excel more at necessary assumption than strengthen questions. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to an answer. A lot of folks starting to comment here. Everyone's seeming pretty much aligned on answer choice D. We got Luke, Mariam, Passion, Linfully, and Brianna all saying D. Well done. The answer is, in fact, D as in Delta. The original with the word only established a necessary condition. The negation of that removes the necessary condition, allowing for exceptions, meaning it's possible to meet the sufficient condition without meeting the necessary. Well done, folks. Okay, so we're 5 in so far. Out of these first 5, please drop in the chat how many you got correct. Were you 5 for 5? Were you 3 for 5? Whatever you got, your accuracy level, just give us a sense of where you're at right now by dropping in the chat how many you got right so far. And by the way, folks, we do these classes every single weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 11 Pacific time. Every weekday, free LSAT classes here on YouTube. If you find these helpful, please spread the word to anyone else you know studying for the LSAT. I don't do any advertising for these classes. The only way this grows is through word of mouth. We got a lot of folks here doing pretty solid. Passion is 4 for 4. Luke got all 5. Mariam's 4 for 5. Linfully got 4 so far. Valentina got 4 out of 4. Fantastic. If you're just coming in, Zulu, you're late. It's okay. Welcome. I'm glad that you're here. We're going to keep going here, folks. On to number 6. Every intern who both finishes the summer program and receives top evaluations is guaranteed a full-time offer. What is the proper negation? A, only interns with top evaluations finish the program. B, completing the program is necessary for a full-time offer. C, there exists at least one intern who finished the program and received top evaluations but did not get a full-time offer. Or D, every intern who finishes receives an evaluation. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but you commit to something. So we got here a bunch of folks dropping answers. Luke, Mariam, Anne, Passion, Edward, all saying choice C. Well done. The answer is, in fact, C. Why is it C? Because C is allowing for an exception to the conditional in the state original, saying every intern meets these conditions. Every intern is guaranteed a full-time offer who did both of those things, If we can find even one intern who met both parts of the sufficient condition, both finished the summer program and got top evaluations, but did not get a full-time offer, that disproves the original, and that's exactly what choice C says. Well done. Number 7, Saul never represents a client unless he believes a legal loophole can be exploited. What is the negation? A, Saul sometimes represents a client even when he believes no legal loophole can be exploited. B, every client Saul represents has a plausible loophole. C, loopholes determine whether Saul takes a case. Or D, Saul always represents clients only when loopholes exist. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. So the original saying, Saul never represents a client unless he thinks there's a loophole he can exploit. The negation would say, he might still represent a client even if there's no loophole. So again, destroying the original conditional, violating that. We have a lot of folks dropping answers in the chat. We got Luke, Passion, Mario, Linfully, Anne, Zuli, Valentina, Edward, Brianna, all saying A. The answer is in fact A. Well done. Mariam says Saul is smart. Yeah, I mean, law definitely involves loopholes. If anyone hasn't watched Better Call Saul, fantastic show, by the way. And the guy who made Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad just made a new show I'm excited to check out called Pluribus that has Kim Wexler starring. So that'd be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that one. All right, awesome, folks. Next, number 8. Kim would have stayed at HHM only if she believed the firm upheld justice more often than it compromised it. What's the negation? A. Kim would have stayed at HHM if she had believed the firm upheld justice more often than it compromised it. B. Kim's decision depended entirely on career growth. C. Kim might have stayed at HHM even without believing the firm upheld justice more often than it compromised it. Or D. Kim believed HHM sometimes ignored justice. Another Better Call Saul example here. So when you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, put a question mark, but please do commit to something. A lot of folks dropping answers in here. We got Luke, Passion, Anne, Mariam, Brianna all saying C. Valentina saying C. Fantastic. Edward saying C. The answer is in fact choice C. Well done. Kim might have stayed at HHM even without believing the firm upheld justice more often than it compromised it. Now, A is pretty similar, but there's a key difference. A says would have, C says might have. And the negation of a would have been a might have, just allowing for the possibility of an exception, like at least once. A is too strong. We're looking for a logical opposite, not a polar opposite. So that's why C is in fact our answer, folks. Well done. Number 9, every applicant whose personal statement shows genuine reflection and strong writing will be recommended for admission. What's the negation? A, the admissions committee recommends admission for all reflective essays. B, genuine reflection is necessary for admission. C, the admissions committee does not always recommend admission, even when an applicant statement shows both genuine reflection and strong writing. Or D, writing strength never affects admissions outcomes. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just put down a question mark, but please do commit to something. All right, so a lot of folks dropping answers here. We got Luke, Anne, Mariam, Passion, Edward, Zuli, Valentina, Brianna, Linfully, all saying choice C. Well done, folks. The answer is in fact C. The original established a necessary condition guaranteeing that they recommend someone for admission. C says they're not always going to recommend someone even if they meet those conditions. Number 10, anyone who completes a full bar prep course will usually pass the bar unless they fail to review ethics. What's the negation? A, everyone who fails the bar skipped the ethics section. B, most bar prep students pass easily. C, passing the bar depends entirely on memorization. Or D, it is not usually the case that people who complete a full bar prep course and review ethics pass the bar. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D? If you're not sure, just put a question mark, but do commit to an answer. Got some folks starting to drop answers in the chat. Awesome. We got here Passion, Luke, Zuli, Mariam, Anne, Jada, Valentina, Brianna, Edward, all saying choice D as in Delta. Fantastic. It is, in fact, choice D. The original said anyone who does this will usually pass unless they fail to review ethics. D says that it's not usually the case. So there's an exception there. Well done. So we're 10 out of 10 questions in so far. Out of these first 10, please drop in the chat how many you got right. Did you get all 10 out of 10? Were you 5 for 10, 7 out of 10, whatever you got, whatever you were here for? Just update us on where you stand. By the way, folks, if you're looking for more support, if you want to talk through any LSAT questions in more depth, get some more personalized recommendations for your LSAT prep plan, you can book a free LSAT tutoring lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. Link below the video on YouTube, link pinned in the chat as well. We got a lot of folks doing great here. Mariam is 9 for 10. Edward is 9 for 9. Julie's 5 for 5. Passion 9 for 9. And 6 for 6. Luke got 10. Brianna got 10 out of 10. Valentina got 9 for 9. Lindsay got 8 out of 9. Fantastic. You folks are nailing it. On to number 11. Every 1L who attends office hours regularly improves at issue spotting. What's the negation? A. Only 1Ls who attend office hours improve. B. At least one 1L attends office hours regularly but doesn't get better at issue spotting. C. Most 1Ls who skip office hours don't improve. Or D. Office hours always guarantee improvement. The original says every. So to negate that every, you want to say at least one does not, or someone does not, or not everyone. So you want to scan through the choices looking for not all, or not every, or at least one does not. And of course, choice B as in Bravo fits that, and a lot of folks got it. Luke, Edward, Brianna, Anne, Mariam, Passion, Zuli, Lindsay, Valentina, Jada, all saying B. Fantastic, folks. Great job. The answer is, in fact, B. Number 12. Getting a recommendation from a tenured professor typically requires more than just an A in the course. What's the negation? A. Recommendations never depend on grades. B. An A is sufficient for every recommendation. C. Tenure has nothing to do with recommendations. Or D. It is not typically the case that getting a recommendation from a tenured professor requires more than just an A. When you've got your answer, please drop it in the chat. A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but please do commit to something. So if the original says typically requires, to negate that, we would say does not typically require. And of course, one of the choices says that, essentially just a bit spread out, and folks are nailing it, getting it right. We got a bunch of folks saying D, which is correct. We got Luke, Brianna, Linfoli, Zuli, and Edward, Mariam, Passion, Valentina all saying D. Well done. The answer is D. It is not typically the case that this requires more than just an A, meaning that maybe an A is enough. Nice. Number 13. No student makes law review without submitting at least one publishable note. What's the negation? A. There's at least one student on law review who never submitted any publishable note. B. Every law review student submitted multiple notes. C. Law review members usually submit notes. Or D. Submitting a note guarantees law review. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just put a question mark. The original is basically saying that to make law review, you've got to submit at least one publishable note. To make it that you want to say it's possible to make law review even if you did not. A lot of folks got it right. You guys are getting great indication here. Got a bunch of folks all saying A, William, Luke, Passion, and Edward, Linfoli, Zuli, Valentina, all saying A. The answer is in fact A, giving us that exception. There's someone who made law review who never submitted any publishable note. Great job. Next, number 14. Elle would have joined Callahan's team only if she believed the case could set precedent. What's the negation? A, believing the case could set precedent was both necessary and sufficient for joining. B, if Elle didn't join, she didn't believe the case could set precedent. C, Elle might have joined even without thinking the case could set precedent. Or D, L believed every case could set precedent. When you got your answer, please drop it in the chat. A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just put a question mark. We got a bunch of folks dropping answers here. We got here, let's see, Luke, Mariam, Zuli, Linfully, Passion, and Edward all saying choice C, that she might have joined even without thinking the case could set precedent. The answer is, in fact, choice C. Well done. So the original is saying that joining the team required belief that it could set precedent. To negate that, we want to say her joining the team does not require that belief, meaning she might join even without having that belief, even without thinking the case could set precedent. So is it possible for her to join without that belief? That's the point, that issue here. That's the question, which of course choice C as in Charlie addresses. Well done. And of course, B as in Bravo is not the answer because there could be lots of different reasons why she might or might not join. The question here is if her joining requires her having that belief or not. Well done, folks. Number 15, only applicants who demonstrate both sustained public service work and strong quantitative reasoning receive merit scholarships more often than need-based scholarships, more need-based grants. What's the negation? A, merit and need-based grants are awarded equally often. B, at least one applicant lacks one of those traits, yet still receives more merit than need-based aid. C, anyone with either trait gets more merit than need-based aid. Or D, no applicant receives more merit than need-based aid. So this is supposed to be a harder one, but a lot of folks are getting it here. Fantastic. Let's see what we got. A lot of folks dropping the same answer in the chat. Choice B. We got Luke, Zuli, Mariam, Linfully, Passion, and Edward, Valentina, all saying B as in Bravo. Well done. B as in Bravo is in fact the answer. At least one applicant lacks one of those traits, yet still got more merit aid. Why? Because the original was establishing a requirement, and B is negating that by allowing for an exception. Well done. So we're 15 drills in so far, 15 questions in. Out of these first 15, please update us on how you're doing. Drop in the chat how many you got right out of these first 15. Were you all for 15? Were you 12 for 15 or 14? However many questions you did, drop in the chat, update us where you stand. All right, awesome. So we got Edward 14 for 14. Fantastic. Luke got all 15. Passion is 14 for 14. Anne's 11 for 11. Zuli 10 for 10. Valentina 13 for 13. Literally 14 out of 15. Awesome. You all are doing great. Well done. Next, number 16. Every partner who bills over 2,200 hours gets a bonus. What's the negation? A, partners who don't bill 2,200 hours never get bonuses. B, most high billers get bonuses. C, there's at least one partner who bills over 2,200 hours but doesn't get a bonus. Or D, only partners get bonuses. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat. A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just put a question mark, but please do commit to something. We got a bunch of folks dropping answers in here. We got Luke, Zuli, Mariam all saying C, Passion, and Edward, Linfully, Valentina, all saying C as well. Fantastic. The answer is in fact C, giving us an exception. The original said every partner. We want to say not every partner, or at least one partner does not. Well done. Number 17, the MPRE typically requires more than memorizing the rules text. What's the negation? A, it is not typically the case that the MPRE requires more than memorizing the rules text. B, memorizing the rules is never helpful. C, the MPRE always requires exactly the rules text. Or D, practice questions guarantee a passing score. When you've got your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just put a question mark, but do commit to something. Got a bunch of folks dropping their answers in here. Awesome. We got Luke, Zuli, Linfully, Mariam, Passion, and Edward all saying choice A. Well done. The answer is in fact A. The original said typically requires. We want to say does not typically require. Then they're saying it's not typically the case that this requires. So well done. Exactly. All we got to do is find the exception. Number 18, Harvey never settles a case unless discovery uncovers leverage. What's the negation? A, Harvey settles every case with leverage. B, without leverage, settlement is impossible. C, discovery is sufficient for settlement. Or D, sometimes Harvey settles even when discovery reveals no leverage. When you've got your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just put a question mark, but do commit to something. So the original saying Harvey never settles unless discovery uncovers leverage. That's a conditional. Settling requires discovery uncovering leverage. So to negate that, we want to say it's possible for Harvey to settle even when discovery did not uncover leverage or reveals no leverage, which is exactly what choice D said. And all of you got it. We got Luke, Mariam, Zuli, Passion, Anne, Linfully, Valentina, Brianna, Edward, all got choice D as in Delta. It is in fact D. Fantastic, folks. Well done. Zuli asks, is there always a pattern to these types of questions? Well, there's a limited number of structures that sentences can have. A lot of the harder ones that we're doing cover conditional statements, and so you negate a conditional by negating the relationship between them. So you want to, if the original says you have a sufficient, requiring, and necessary, you want to see how is it possible to have the sufficient condition yet not to have the necessary, and that would be the negation. So in short, yeah, there are patterns. The LSAT's a bunch of patterns, and so the more questions you do, the more patterns you understand. That way, when you see a new question, you can more easily and automatically relate it back to those you've seen in the past. You're not thinking through the logic the first time, and that's how you solve questions faster. So yes, there is a pattern. That's what we're uncovering today. Number 19, any applicant who both scores a 175 plus and has 2 years of paralegal experience will be fast-tracked for an interview. What's the negation? A, fast tracking requires either 175 plus or 2 years of experience. B, at least one applicant meets both conditions yet isn't fast tracked. C, fast tracking happens for most applicants. Or D, applicants without those credentials are never fast tracked. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just put a question mark, but do commit to something. The original said any applicant. We want to say not every applicant, or at least one does not. And folks are getting it. Fantastic. We got Luke, Passion, Brianna, Zuli, and Mariam, Edwards, and Lee all saying B. The answer is in fact B. Well done. At least one met the sufficient conditions, yet did not meet the necessary. That's what B says. Well done. Next, number 20. Anyone who completes the 10-week clerkship bootcamp will typically secure at least one callback unless they skip the writing sample. What's the negation? A, skipping the writing sample always prevents callbacks. B, completing the bootcamp guarantees multiple callbacks. C, it is not typically the case that those who complete the bootcamp and submit the writing sample secure at least one callback. Or D, callbacks depend entirely on professor references. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but do commit to an answer. So the original says anyone who meets these conditions typically gets the callback unless they skip the writing sample. We want to say not everyone, or this won't typically happen, that you get a callback even if you did the writing sample. And that's what C says. Well done. We got Zuli, Luke, Linfully, Edward, Brianna, Passion, Mariam, and Valentina all saying C. The original said they'll typically secure it. C says it's not typically the case that they'll secure it. Well done. All right, we're 20 in so far. Out of these first 20, please drop in the chat how many you got right. Out of these 20, were you getting all 20 right? Were you getting 18 out of 20? Y'all are doing great. You might have noticed some of these are harder, but you're still getting them, which is awesome. All right, so we got Luke got all 20. Awesome, Luke. Even though it's so early in the morning for you. Zuli got 15 for 15. Mariam got 19 out of 20. Passion got 19 of 19. Valentina 18 for 18. Edward 19 for 19. Linfully 19 out of 20. Awesome, you guys are doing great, getting almost all of them perfect, if not perfection, and got 16 for 16. Fantastic, well done, folks. Number 21. Every 2L who outlines after each class remembers Black law letter more effectively? What's the negation? A, only 2Ls who outline remember anything. B, some 2L who outlines after class does not remember Black law letter more effectively. C, all 2Ls who outline memorize every rule. D, forgetting law is impossible if you outline. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but do commit to an answer. We got folks dropping answers in. Awesome. We got here Zuli, Passion, Luke, Valentina, Linfully, Edward, Mariam, Brianna, all saying choice B. B is in fact the answer. Well done. Fantastic. The original said every 2L does this. To negate it, we want to say at least one does not. So there is some 2L who does not remember Black law letter more effectively, even though they outlined. Awesome. Next, 22. Passing a cold call in contracts usually requires more than just reading the case once. What's the negation? A, it's not usually true that passing a cold call requires more than one read. B, reading once never helps on a cold call. C, every student rereads cases multiple times. Or D, sometimes reading a case once is enough to pass a cold call. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat. Again, the original said passing usually requires. We want to say passing does not usually require. Got folks dropping answers. We got Zuli, Luke, Mariam, Passion, Edward, Linfully, Valentina, Brianna, all saying choice A. A is in fact the answer. Well done. The original said usually. A saying not usually. Simple as that. Next, 23. No student earns a clerkship offer without writing at least one strong research memo. What's the negation? A, clerkships always require multiple memos. B, writing memos is unrelated to clerkships. C, at least one student got a clerkship without writing a strong memo. Or D, strong memos guarantee clerkships. When you've got your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but do commit to an answer. Original says no student earns. Negation, at least one student earned. And that's exactly what C says. And Zuli got it. Luke, Passion, Edward, Brianna, Mariam, Linfully all said, Valentina all said C. Fantastic. The answer is in fact C. Well done. Opposite of none is some, meaning at least one. That's what C says. Number 24. Mike would have joined Pearson Spector only if Harvey agreed to mentor him personally. What's the negation? A, Mike might have joined even if Harvey refused to mentor him. B, Harvey's mentorship was both necessary and sufficient. C, Pearson Spector never mentors associates. Or D, Mike joined every firm Harvey worked for. When you've got your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but do commit to an answer. So Mike would have joined only if Harvey agreed to mentor him personally. That's the only establishes a necessary condition. We want to see that Mike would have joined, in other words, meeting the sufficient condition, even if Harvey did not agree. And that is what A says. Looks like folks nailed it. We got here Luke, Mariam, Passion, Linfully, Edward, Valentina, Zuli, Brianna, Anne, all saying choice A. Well done. The answer is in fact A. We want to meet the sufficient condition without necessarily meeting the necessary. And that's what A says. Even if Harvey did not agree to mentor him, Mike might have joined anyway. Well done. Number 25. Only applicants who score 170 plus and show leadership in 2 or more organizations are considered for early admission. What's the negation? A, applicants who meet both conditions are always admitted. B, every applicant with either trait qualifies. C, some applicant lacking one of those traits was still considered for early admission. Or D, early admission depends solely on GPA. When you've got your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just put a question mark, but do commit to an answer. Got a lot of folks dropping answers here. We got Zuli, Passion, Luke, Mariam, Brianna, Edward, Linfully, Valentina, all saying choice C. The answer is in fact C. Well done, and got it also. Fantastic. Yes. So You're saying that only these people who meet these conditions are gonna get early admission. We wanna negate that and say there's at least someone who met those conditions, yet did not at least someone who people who did not who lacked those, conditions yet still got early admission. That's exactly what C said. Fantastic, the answer is in fact C. Someone lacked one of these traits yet still got early admission. Well done. The answer is C. Nice. So we're 25 in so far. Out of these 25, please drop in the chat how many you got right. Were you getting all 25 out of the ones we did so far? Did you get 23 out of 25? Whatever your accuracy level was, just drop it in the chat to give us a sense of where you're at. Zuli, 20 for 20, fantastic. Edward, 24 for 24. Passion, 24 for 24. Luke got all 25, fantastic. Mariam got 24 out of 25. Doing great, folks. Valentina, 23 for 23, folks. And by the way, if you're looking for some more personalized support, you want to talk through your situation, you can book a free LSAT tutoring lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. Link below the video on YouTube, link pinned in the chat as well in the comments. Let's keep going. Number 26. Every student who practices timed sections daily improves endurance by test day. What's the negation? A, there's at least one student who practices timed sections daily but doesn't improve endurance. B, daily practice always guarantees perfect pacing. C, only practice matters for endurance. Or D, most students who skip timing never improve. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, just drop a question mark, but do commit to an answer. The original saying every, we want to say to negate that, not every or not all, or at least one does not. Folks are nailing it. We got a lot of folks all lined up here. Julie, Mariam, Luke, Ashen, Edward, Linfully, Brianna, Valentina, all saying choice A. Well done. The answer is in fact A. There's at least one student who practices but does not improve. That's exactly what we're looking for here. That was the negation. Well done. Number 27, scoring in the 170s generally requires more than memorizing question types. What's the negation? A, memorization never helps performance. B, every 170 score relies purely on luck. C, it is not generally the case that scoring in the 170s requires more than memorizing question types. Or D, memorizing question types guarantees 180. When you've got your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, put a question mark. Original says scoring generally requires. We want to say scoring does not generally require, or it's not generally required. And folks have all got it. We got Zuli, Luke, Passion, Mariam, Linfully, Edward, Valentina, and Brianna all saying C. Well done. The answer is in fact C. It is not generally the case. So if the original says generally requires, we want to say it's not generally required. Nice. 28. Rachel never misses a filing deadline unless the server crashes. What's the negation? A, crashes are sufficient for missed deadlines. B, deadlines never depend on servers. C, Rachel always meets deadlines no matter what. Or D, sometimes Rachel misses a deadline even when the server doesn't crash. Original says Rachel never misses. We want to say she misses at least sometimes. When you've got your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. We got here Luke, Zuli, Passion, Brianna, Mariam, Linfully, all saying D. The answer is in fact D. Well, sometimes Rachel misses a deadline even when the server doesn't crash. So her missing a deadline does not even require the server crashing. She might miss it in the absence of the server crashing. Nice, well done. Awesome, fantastic. Okay, so let's go on to 29. Any applicant who writes both a diversity and why our school essay receives faster decisions. What's the negation? A, writing either essay guarantees quick review. B, at least one applicant wrote both essays but didn't get a faster decision. C, all applicants submit both essays. Or D, writing essays delays the process. When you have your answer, please drop it in the chat, A, B, C, or D. Anyone who writes both essays gets faster decisions. Negate that. It's possible to write both, yet not receive faster decisions, and that pre-phrases or predictions matched by choice B, which we have here Zulu, Passion, Luke, Mario, Winfrey, Edward, Brianna, all saying choice B as in Bravo. Fantastic, well done. At least one person met the sufficient condition, yet did not meet the necessary condition, negating that conditional statement. Next, number 30. Every law student who masters conditional reasoning and strengthens inference skills scores above the 90th percentile unless they neglect reading comprehension entirely. What's the negation? A, some student mastered both skills and didn't neglect reading comp, yet failed to reach the 90th percentile. B, neglecting RC always ruins your score. C, strengthening inference skills alone ensures success. Or D, the 90th percentile depends only on LR accuracy. When you have your answer, please put in the chat A, B, C, or D. If you're not sure, put a question mark, put your committed to Again, we have the word every, meaning all. So today, I just want to say there's at least one person who did not. At least one person who met the sufficient, it did not meet the necessary. And that's exactly what A says. You all nailed it. Fantastic. We got Mariam, Passion, Blue, Lee, Anne, Brianna, Valentina, Edward, all saying A is in fact A. So out of these 30 that we've done so far, please drop in the chat right now 30 to get 30 for 30 correct. Were you 28 for 28 for however many you did? Just update us in the chat where you stand, what your accuracy level is, so we can get a sense of where you're at. Zuli 25 for 25. Awesome. You got all 30. Fantastic. Well done. Passion 29 for 29. That's great. You all are doing fantastic. Mario 29 out of 30. Excellent. Well done. Nice, folks. Great. So tomorrow we're going to cover reading comprehension, specifically covering an important inference function. So stay tuned for that tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 Central, 11 Pacific. If you want to talk through your situation more personally, you want to cover some tougher questions with me, you can book a free LSAT tutoring lesson with me at unpluggedprep.com/start. Link below the video on YouTube. Link in the comments pinned in the chat. Happy to talk through your situation. Open offer to anybody watching this now or later. Free LSAT tutoring lesson, folks. I'll see you all tomorrow. Same time, same place. 2 Eastern, 1 Central, 11 Pacific. If you find these helpful, please spread the word. The only way this grows is through word of mouth. In the meantime, folks, I wish you all the best. Take care. See you tomorrow.